The morning sun on Kepler 442b was different from Earth's sun. It was bigger and more orange, casting long shadows across the mining colony. Sergeant Maria Chen stood at the edge of the colony, watching the sky. She had been standing there for 3 hours waiting. The colonists had told her to run, to hide with them in the underground tunnels. But Chen had a job to do. The device on her back was heavy. It looked like someone had taken parts from a broken spaceship and put them together with mining tools. Wires stuck out from different places. The metal was rusty in some spots. It hummed with a strange sound that made people's teeth hurt if they stood too close. Chen had helped build it herself, along with the scientists who were now hiding with everyone else. In the sky, dark shapes began to appear. First one, then 10, then hundreds. The Galactic Council's peacekeeping force had arrived. Their ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Each ship was smooth and silver, moving through the air like water. They were nothing like the ugly, boxy human ships that had brought the colonists here 5 years ago. Commander Zixa Theta stood on the bridge of his command ship. He had 4 arms and skin that changed color with his mood. Right now it was purple, which meant he was bored. This mission was beneath him. The humans on this planet were nothing. They were new to space, barely able to build ships that could travel between stars. His people, the Dominion, had been traveling space for 10,000 years. "Sir," said his second in command, a creature with 6 eyes, "we are detecting 1 human life sign at the colony border." "Just 1. Zix Theta's skin turned orange with amusement. "1 human? They sent 1 human to face us?" "It appears so, sir. This will be even easier than we thought. Tell the ground forces to take this human alive. I want to know why they thought 1 soldier could stop us." 3 dropships left the main fleet. Each one carried 50 of the Dominion's best warriors. They wore armor that could stop any human weapon. They carried plasma guns that could melt steel. They had fought in 100 battles across the galaxy and never lost. Chen watched the dropships come down. They landed about 500 meters away from her. The doors opened and the aliens came out. They were all different types. Some were tall and thin, others short and wide. Some had scales, others had fur. But they all moved like soldiers, spreading out in perfect formation. One of them stepped forward. It was twice as tall as Chen and had blue skin. It spoke through a translator device. "Human, you will surrender now. Your colony must leave this planet. It belongs to the Galactic Council. You have 1 chance to live. Put down your weapon." Chen looked at the device on her back. She had practiced with it for weeks, but she had only fired it 3 times. Each time the scientists had been terrified. They said it was too dangerous, that they didn't fully understand what it did. But they had no choice. Earth had no fleet to protect its colonies. They had to protect themselves. "No," Chen said simply. The blue alien's translator made a sound like laughing. "You refuse? You are 1 small human with a piece of junk on your back. We are 150 of the galaxy's finest warriors. You cannot win." "Maybe not," Chen said. "But I'm going to try." She reached for the controls on her chest. The device on her back started to make a louder sound. The air around her began to shimmer like heat waves on a hot road. The aliens laughed. Some of them pointed at her and made jokes in their own languages. The blue leader raised his plasma gun. "Your courage is amusing, human. But courage without power is just stupidity. Warriors, take her!" The aliens started moving forward. Chen took a deep breath and pulled the trigger. The sound was wrong. It wasn't an explosion or a blast. It was like the universe itself was screaming. The air in front of Chen split open. Not like a door opening, but like reality was being torn apart. Beyond the tear was nothing. Not black, not white, just nothing. A nothing that hurt to look at. The tear grew wider, reaching out like hungry fingers. The first dropship was too close. The nothing grabbed it and pulled. The ship didn't explode or break apart. It just stopped existing. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. Not even dust remained. The aliens stopped moving. Their leader's skin turned white, a color Zix Theta had never been before. Fear. The tear kept growing. The second dropship tried to take off, but the nothing was faster. It reached out and touched the ship's tail. The metal didn't melt or burn. It just wasn't there anymore. The ship spun, half of it gone, before the rest disappeared into the nothing. Chen struggled to control the device. It was shaking on her back, getting hotter. She could smell burning metal. The tear was supposed to close by now, but it kept growing. The third dropship was backing away, its engines screaming. The aliens on the ground were running. Some dropped their weapons. Others fired at the tear, but their plasma shots just disappeared into it. One alien wasn't fast enough. The edge of the nothing touched his leg. He didn't scream. He just looked down in confusion as his leg was gone, not cut off, just absent. Then the rest of him followed. Chen grabbed the emergency shut-off switch. She pulled it hard. The device on her back sparked and smoked. The tear in reality started to close, but slowly, like it didn't want to. It made a sound like thunder as it sealed itself, leaving only normal air behind. The battlefield was quiet. Where 3 dropships had been, there was nothing. Where 150 warriors had stood, only about 100 remained. They were scattered, some on the ground, others frozen in place. The blue alien leader was on his knees. His translator was broken, but Chen could tell he was trying to speak. Finally, it started working again. What was that? He asked. That was a warning, Chen said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. The device on her back was smoking badly now. She didn't know if it would work again. That's impossible, the alien said. The laws of physics. You can't just tear holes in space. We humans have a saying, Chen said. The impossible just takes a little longer. On the command ship, Zixa Theta watched everything through the cameras. His skin had turned black, the color of absolute shock. He had seen many weapons in his long life. Plasma cannons that could destroy cities, quantum bombs that could crack moons, but he had never seen anything like this. Sir, his second-in-command whispered, what are your orders? Zix Theta couldn't answer. He just stared at the screen, at the single human soldier standing where his dropships had been. One human with a weapon that looked like garbage had just destroyed 3 of his best ships and 50 of his warriors. Sir? His second asked again. Pull back, Zix Theta finally said. Pull everyone back now. But sir, we have thousands of warriors. Surely one human. Now! Zix Theta roared. His skin flashed through every color at once. Pull back now! The remaining ground forces ran to the transport ships. They didn't look back. Chen watched them go, still standing in the same spot. When the last ship was gone, she finally let herself fall to her knees. The device on her back was completely dead now, smoking and sparking. She pulled out her radio. This is Chen, they're gone. For now. The colony leader's voice came through, shaking with relief. How did you? I showed them what humans do when we're backed into a corner, Chen said. We do the impossible. In space, the Dominion fleet was in chaos. Officers were shouting at each other. Scientists were checking their instruments over and over, not believing what they showed. And in the center of it all, Commander Zixa Theta stood silent, his skin now gray with thought. He had come here thinking humans were nothing. Just another weak species to be pushed aside. But that weapon, that impossible weapon that shouldn't exist, it changed everything. Send a message to the Galactic Council, he finally said. Tell them we need to reconsider everything we know about humans. Back on the planet, Chen stood up. She could see the colonists starting to come out from their hiding places. They were cheering, but Chen wasn't celebrating. She knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would be back. They would want to know how the weapon worked. They would want to know how humans had done something that thousands of years of alien science said was impossible. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today, one human soldier had stood against an empire and won. Today, the galaxy learned that humans might be new to space, but they were not weak. The sun was setting now, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Chen picked up the broken reality ripper and started walking back to the colony. She had work to do. They would need more weapons. They would need to be ready, because this was just the first day of a much bigger story. The Dominion fleet hung in space like a storm cloud, 200 kilometers above the mining colony. Inside the command ship, scientists from 12 different species crowded around holographic displays. They had been studying the battle recordings for 6 hours straight, and none of them could explain what they had seen. Dr. Krell, a thin creature with gray skin and huge black eyes, played the recording again. Each time he watched it, his brain hurt more. The weapon the human had used broke every rule he knew about physics. It's impossible, said another scientist, a blob-like being that floated in a tank of green liquid. You cannot simply tear space apart. The energy required would be more than a star produces in a year. Yet we saw it happen, Dr. Krell said quietly. The human did it with a device that looked like it was made from spare parts. Commander Zixatheta entered the science lab. His skin was still shifting between colors, unable to settle on one emotion. Tell me you have answers. We have questions, Dr. Krell replied. Many questions. The energy readings from the weapon make no sense. Sometimes it shows infinite energy. Sometimes it shows negative energy. The computer systems cannot even process the data. I don't want excuses. I want to know how to fight it. You cannot fight what you do not understand, Dr. Krell said. And we do not understand this at all. Down on the planet, Maria Chen sat in the colony's workshop. The broken reality ripper lay on the table in front of her. Around her, 5 other colonists watched as she took it apart piece by piece. This is the power core, she said, holding up a cylinder that looked like it had been through a fire. It's based on something we found by accident. Dr. Harrison was trying to create a new type of mining laser. He made a mistake in the calculations. Instead of cutting rock, it cut through space itself. A young man named Tom raised his hand. How does it work? Chen smiled sadly. We don't really know. We know what it does and we know how to make it happen, but the why, that's still a mystery. Dr. Harrison called it aggressive ignorance. We're too stupid to know it's impossible, so we did it anyway. She pulled out 5 smaller devices from a box. They looked even worse than the original reality ripper. Wires were held together with tape. Some parts were clearly taken from kitchen appliances. These are the portable versions, Chen said. They're weaker than mine was, and they only work once, maybe twice if you're lucky. After that, they melt. An older woman named Sarah picked one up carefully. How do we know they won't just kill us when we use them? We don't, Chen admitted. 3 people died during testing. The tiers sometimes open in the wrong place. Sometimes they don't close. Sometimes they do other things we don't expect. That's not very reassuring, Tom said. No, it's not. But it's all we have. The Dominion will attack again. They have to. They can't let one small colony defeat them. It would destroy their reputation. Maybe Earth will send help, Sarah suggested hopefully. Chen shook her head. Earth has 12 warships total. The Dominion has 12,000. No, we're on our own. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, colonists were building barriers and digging trenches. Children were being moved to the deepest bunkers. Everyone knew the aliens would return. We have maybe 2 days, Chen continued. I need you 5 to learn how to use these weapons. You won't be experts, but you need to know the basics. Point, shoot, and pray it works. Pray? Tom asked. That's the most important part, Chen said with a grim smile. Back on the command ship, a meeting was happening. Representatives from all the major species in the Galactic Council were present as holograms. The Grand Admiral, a creature that looked like a floating crystal, spoke first. 1 human defeated our ground forces? 1 human with an impossible weapon, Zixatheta corrected. We need more ships, more warriors. You already have 500 ships, the Grand Admiral said. That should be more than enough for a colony of 3,000 humans. You didn't see what that weapon did? It doesn't destroy things. It makes them not exist. There's no defense against it. Another representative, something that looked like a talking plant, rustled its leaves. Perhaps we should negotiate with the humans. Negotiate? Zixatheta's skin turned red. They're primitive beings who've been in space for less than 50 years. We don't negotiate with them. We tell them what to do. Primitive beings who created a weapon we don't understand, the plant creature pointed out. The Grand Admiral pulsed with different colors. Send the full fleet, 1,000 ships. Overwhelm them before they can use their weapon again. The full fleet? Zixatheta was shocked. For 1 colony? We cannot appear weak. If 1 human colony defeats us, others will resist too. End this quickly. The hologram disappeared. Zixatheta stood alone in the meeting room, his skin now dark purple with worry. 1,000 ships against 3,000 humans should be easy. But that weapon. That night, Chen couldn't sleep. She stood on the colony's wall, looking up at the stars. She could see the alien fleet. Tiny lights moving against the darkness. More ships were arriving every hour. Tom joined her. Can we really win this? Win? Chen thought about it. No, we can't win. But we can make it so expensive for them that they leave us alone. How many of us will die? Maybe all of us, Chen said honestly. But if we die fighting. We die showing the galaxy that humans won't just roll over and give up. That's depressing, and that's reality. Chen turned to look at Tom. But here's the thing about humans. We're really good at changing reality when we don't like it. The next morning, Dr. Harrison called Chen to his lab. He was one of the few scientists who hadn't hidden in the bunkers. His hair was white and his hands shook, but his eyes were sharp. "I've been working on something," he said. He showed her a device that looked like a belt. "It's a personal shield, sort of. Sort of. It doesn't stop attacks. It moves you slightly out of phase with reality. Weapons pass through you, but you can't touch anything either. It only lasts 10 seconds, then it needs an hour to recharge. 10 seconds isn't much. It's 10 seconds of being unkillable. That might make a difference." Chen put on the belt. It was heavy and uncomfortable. "How many do we have?" "Just this one. The parts are too rare to make more." Outside, alarms started ringing. Chen ran to the wall. The sky was full of ships. Not hundreds, but thousands. They blocked out the sun, casting the colony in shadow. "They're sending everything," someone whispered. Chen activated her radio. "All fighters to positions. Remember your training. Short bursts only. Don't let the weapons overheat." The 5 colonists with the portable reality rippers took their positions along the wall. They looked terrified, but they stood firm. A message came through on all channels. It was Commander Zixa Theta, humans of the mining colony. "You have one chance. Surrender now and you will be allowed to leave peacefully. Fight and you will be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to decide." Chen picked up the colony's transmitter. "Commander, this is Sergeant Chen. We've already decided. Come and get us." There was silence for a moment. Then Zixa Theta spoke again and his translator couldn't hide his anger. "So be it." The attack began with orbital bombardment. Energy beams rained down from the ships, but they hit the colony's shields. The shields wouldn't last long, but they gave the colonists time. "Wait for them to come closer," Chen ordered. "The Rippers have limited range." Dropships started descending. Hundreds of them carrying thousands of warriors. They had learned from last time, spreading out to avoid being caught together. Chen looked at her small team. 5 scared colonists with weapons they barely understood. It wasn't much, but it was what they had. "Remember," she called out, "we're not trying to win. We're trying to show them that fighting humans costs more than it's worth. We're trying to show them that we're too dangerous to push around." The first dropships landed outside the colony. Warriors poured out, advancing in careful formation. They had energy shields, heavy armor, and weapons that could level buildings. Chen raised her new reality ripper. This one was bigger than the last, uglier, held together with hope and determination more than engineering. "For Earth," she said quietly. "For humanity." "For the impossible." She pulled the trigger. The battle had stopped. Both sides stood frozen, watching each other across the battlefield. The Dominion forces had pulled back after losing another 100 warriors to the reality rippers. The humans were exhausted, and 3 of their 5 portable weapons had melted into useless slag. In this strange quiet, a small drone approached the colony walls. It projected a hologram of Dr. Krell, the gray-skinned scientist from the Dominion fleet. "Sergeant Chen," the hologram said, "I am Dr. Krell. I am not a warrior. I am a scientist. I wish to talk." Chen looked at the drone suspiciously. "If this is a trick, no trick. I give you my word as a scholar. I only want to understand, please." Chen thought about it. They needed time to fix their weapons anyway. "You have 1 hour. Come alone. Any tricks and we'll tear another hole in your fleet." 20 minutes later, a small shuttle landed outside the colony. Dr. Krell walked out slowly, his hands visible and empty. Chen met him at the gate, her reality ripper aimed at his chest. "Thank you for seeing me," Dr. Krell said. His huge black eyes blinked slowly. "I have studied science for 200 years. I have 7 degrees from the greatest universities in the galaxy, and your weapon makes me feel like a child who knows nothing." "That's because you don't know everything," Chen said simply. They walked to a small room in the colony's main building. Dr. Harrison was there, looking tired and old. Chen had asked him to join them. Dr. Krell sat down carefully. His thin body folded in strange ways. "Please help me understand. How does your weapon work?" Dr. Harrison laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You want to know the truth? We don't really know either. That's impossible. You built it. We built it, yes. But understanding it? That's different." Dr. Harrison pulled out a tablet and showed some equations. "Look at this. This is our math for the reality ripper." Dr. Krell studied the equations. His eyes grew even wider. "This is wrong. All of this is wrong. You're dividing by 0 here. You're using imaginary numbers as real values. You're treating infinity as a variable. This math is insane. Yes, Dr. Harrison agreed. But it works. How? Dr. Harrison leaned back in his chair. Let me tell you a story. 5 years ago, I was working on a new mining laser. I was tired, hadn't slept in 2 days. I made a mistake in my calculations. A big mistake. The kind of mistake that should have just broken the machine. He paused, remembering. But instead of breaking, it did something impossible. It cut through the wall of my lab. Not through the metal, but through the space where the wall was. For just a second, I could see into another dimension. A place where our laws of physics didn't apply. Dr. Krell was shaking now. You found this by accident? By accident, by stupidity, by being too tired to do the math right. Call it what you want. Dr. Harrison smiled. You see, Dr. Krell, your people and all the other advanced species, you've been doing science the right way for thousands of years. You follow the rules. You test carefully. You don't do anything dangerous. Because dangerous experiments kill people, Dr. Krell said. Yes, they do. We've lost 12 people developing the Reality Ripper. But we didn't have a choice. We had to protect ourselves somehow. Chen added. Every other species we've met has better technology than us. Better ships, better weapons, better everything. So we had to find something different. Something no one else would try because it's too crazy. Dr. Krell was quiet for a moment. You're saying you succeeded because you were willing to do what we consider insane? That's exactly what we're saying, Dr. Harrison confirmed. Your people would never try to destabilize a black hole on purpose. We did. Your people would never mix matter and antimatter in an unshielded container. We did. Your people would never try to create a paradox to see what happens. We did. Those things could destroy entire star systems, or they could create weapons that make the impossible possible, Chen said. Dr. Krell stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see children playing, even though a massive alien fleet hung in the sky above them. You humans are insane. Maybe, Chen agreed. But we're alive. Dr. Krell turned back to them. The Reality Ripper works by forcing 2 dimensions to occupy the same space, doesn't it? Dr. Harrison nodded. Very good. Yes, we found that every point in space actually exists in multiple dimensions at once. Normally they don't interact. But if you apply the right kind of energy in the right kind of way, you can make them collide. And when they collide, they cancel each other out, like matter and antimatter, but for space itself. That's the hole, you see. It's not really a hole. It's an absence, a place where space isn't. Dr. Krell's skin had turned pale. Do you understand how dangerous that is? You could tear apart the fabric of reality itself. You could destroy the universe. We've calculated the risk, Dr. Harrison said calmly. There's only a 2% chance of creating a universe-ending cascade. Only 2%? Dr. Krell looked horrified. You're willing to risk the entire universe? To protect our people? Yes, Chen said without hesitation. Dr. Krell sat back down heavily. I need to ask you something. The Galactic Council has weapons that could destroy this entire planet. Why haven't you used your Reality Rippers against our fleet directly? Chen and Dr. Harrison looked at each other. Then Chen spoke. Because we're not trying to destroy you. We're trying to make you leave us alone. There's a difference. But you could destroy us all? Dr. Harrison pulled out another tablet. This is the design for what we call the reality bomb. It's a reality ripper without safety limits. It would create a tear that wouldn't stop growing until it consumed everything within about a light year. Dr. Krell's translator made a sound like choking. You've built this? No, but we could. In about 3 days with the parts we have here. Dr. Harrison put the tablet away. We don't want to use it. We don't want to destroy anyone. We just want to live in peace. Wait, but you would use it? If you gave us no choice? If it was die or take you with us? Chen's voice was hard. Yes, humans have a saying, give me liberty or give me death. But we've added to it. Now it's give me liberty or we all get death. Dr. Krell was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You discovered this technology by accident. By making mistakes. By being, as you say, too stupid to know it was impossible. That's right. And you're willing to use weapons that could destroy everything, just to protect your freedom? That's also right. Dr. Krell stood up. I need to report this to my commander. He needs to know what we're really facing. As he walked to the door, he turned back. Can I ask you one more question? Go ahead, Chen said. Are all humans like you, willing to do the impossible? Chen smiled. No, most humans are normal, peaceful people. But when you threaten us, when you back us into a corner, when you tell us we can't win, she shrugged. That's when we get creative. That's when we get dangerous. Dr. Krell left the colony and flew back to the fleet. In the command ship, he found Commander Zixa Theta preparing the final assault. Thousands of warriors were ready. Hundreds of ships were powered up, sir, Dr. Krell said. You need to hear what I learned. He told Zixa Theta everything. About the accidental discovery. About the willingness to risk everything. About the reality bomb that could destroy them all. Zix Theta's skin turned colors Dr. Krell had never seen before. They're bluffing. They must be. I don't think so, sir. I think they're exactly what they appear to be. A species that's too young to know what's impossible, too desperate to care about the risks, and too stubborn to surrender. We have them surrounded. We have overwhelming force, and they have weapons that ignore our understanding of physics. Sir, I've been thinking. Why do you think no other species discovered this technology? Because it's insane. Exactly. Because we're all too smart, too careful, too aware of the dangers. But humans? They're like children playing with fire. Most of the time, they'll burn themselves. But sometimes they'll discover how to forge steel. Zix Theta walked to the window, looking down at the small colony. You're saying we should retreat? From humans? I'm saying we should think very carefully about what kind of enemy we want to make. Do we want to fight a species that weaponizes impossibility? That turns mistakes into advantages? That would rather destroy the universe than surrender? Down in the colony, Chen stood with the other defenders. They had managed to fix one of the portable reality rippers, but it would probably only work once more. The colony's shields were failing. They had maybe an hour before the final assault. Tom, the young colonist, stood next to her. Do you think Dr. Krell understood? I hope so, Chen said. I hope he understood that we're not just fighters. We're humans. We're the species that looked at birds and decided to fly. We looked at fish and decided to swim to the bottom of the ocean. We looked at the stars and decided to touch them. She checked her reality ripper one more time. And when someone tells us we can't do something, we take that as a challenge. Sarah, the older colonist, laughed nervously. You make us sound invincible. Not invincible, Chen corrected. Just too stubborn to know when we're beaten. Above them, the Dominion fleet waited. In a few minutes, they would know if the humans would surrender, or if the impossible would happen again. In the command ship, Zix Theta made his decision. But it wasn't the decision anyone expected. The attack came at dawn, not with hundreds of ships, but with thousands. The entire Dominion fleet moved at once, blocking out the orange sun completely. The colony was thrown into darkness. Chen stood on the wall, her reality ripper humming with unstable energy. The weapon was getting worse with each use. She could feel it heating up already, and she hadn't even fired it yet. Around her, the 5 colonists with portable rippers took their positions. Only 2 of their weapons still worked. They're not holding back this time, Tom said. His voice shook. No, Chen agreed. This is everything they have. The first wave wasn't dropships. It was bombardment. Thousands of energy beams rained down on the colony's shields. The shields, already weak, started to crack. Blue lightning ran across the shield dome as it tried to hold. 30 seconds until shield failure, someone called out. Chen raised her weapon. Wait for my signal. We only get one chance. The shield shattered like glass. The energy beam struck the colony directly. Buildings exploded. The ground shook. But the colonists were ready. They had moved underground, leaving only the fighters on the surface. Dropships followed the bombardment. They came from every direction, too many to count. Warriors poured out, different species all working together. They had learned from the previous battles. They stayed spread out, never clustering together. Now, Chen shouted. She pulled the trigger on her reality ripper. The familiar scream of tortured space filled the air. A tear opened in front of her, wider than before. It reached out and caught 3 dropships, erasing them from existence. But something was wrong. The tear wasn't stable. It twisted and turned, moving in ways it shouldn't. Chen tried to control it, but the weapon was fighting her. Tom fired his portable ripper. A smaller tear appeared, catching a group of advancing warriors. They disappeared into nothing. But his weapon immediately melted, the metal running like water. He threw it away before it burned his hands. Sarah's weapon didn't work at all. She pulled the trigger and nothing happened except smoke and sparks. The Dominion warriors kept coming. They had accepted that they would take losses. For every 10 that disappeared into tears and reality, 20 more took their place. Chen's reality ripper was shaking violently now. The tear she had created wasn't closing. Instead, it was growing, but not in a controlled way. It twisted through space like a snake, eating anything it touched. "I can't control it," Chen shouted. The tier suddenly split into two, then three. Each piece moved independently, carving impossible paths through the air. One tier moved backward toward the colony. Colonists ran as buildings were erased. Dr. Harrison's voice came over the radio. "Chen, shut it down. The weapon is cascading." "I'm trying." She hit the emergency shutdown, but nothing happened. The weapon was beyond stopping now. It had become something else, something that fed on reality itself. Commander Zixatheta watched from his command ship. His instruments were going crazy. The space around the colony was breaking down. "What's happening?" he demanded. "The human weapon is malfunctioning," a scientist reported. "It's creating multiple dimensional rifts. They're not controlled anymore." On the ground, the battle had become chaos. Dominion warriors tried to advance, but the wandering tiers made it impossible. The tiers moved randomly, appearing and disappearing without warning. A warrior would be running forward and suddenly half of him would be gone. But the tiers weren't just hitting the Dominion forces. The colony was being destroyed too. The medical center disappeared into a tear. The food storage was erased. The underground bunkers, supposed to be safe, were being eaten by tiers that appeared inside solid rock. Chen knew she had to do something. The weapon on her back was burning her now, even through her armor. She remembered Dr. Harrison's belt, the one that moved her out of phase with reality. She activated it and immediately felt strange. The world looked different, like she was seeing it through water. She could see the tiers more clearly now. They weren't really tiers. They were places where dimensions were colliding, where different versions of reality were trying to exist in the same space. And she could see something else. The reality ripper wasn't just malfunctioning. It was evolving. Each time they had used it, it had learned, grown, become more complex. Now it was trying to rewrite the laws of physics around it. 10 seconds. That's all the belt gave her. 10 seconds of being out of phase. She used them to run toward the largest tear, the one that had started it all. As the belt's power died, she did something insane, even for a human. She threw the reality ripper into its own tear. The explosion wasn't sound or light. It was something else, something that made everyone's brain hurt. The reality ripper, caught between existing and not existing, screamed as it tried to erase itself. The paradox created a shockwave that rippled through dimensions. Every tier on the battlefield suddenly reversed. Instead of erasing things, they started pulling things through from other dimensions. A Dominion warrior found himself facing another version of himself. A destroyed building reappeared, but wrong, like it had been built by different architects. Chen watched in amazement as multiple realities collided. She saw versions of the colony where they had won, where they had lost, where the Dominion had never come at all. All these realities tried to exist at once. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, everything snapped back. The tiers closed. The other dimensions faded. Reality reasserted itself with a sound like thunder. The battlefield was left scarred and strange. Parts of the ground were missing. Other parts had things that shouldn't exist, like trees made of metal or rocks that floated. The Dominion forces had stopped attacking. They stood frozen, trying to understand what they had just seen. Many of them were injured, not from weapons, but from being partially in multiple dimensions at once. Commander Zixatheta's voice came over all channels. "Cease fire! All forces cease fire immediately." Chen fell to her knees. The reality ripper was gone, destroyed in its own paradox. She looked around at the devastation. Half the colony was gone, but they were still alive. Dr. Krell's shuttle landed near her. He rushed out, his scientific instruments beeping wildly. "What did you do?" he asked. "I fed the weapon to itself," Chen said tiredly. "Created a paradox it couldn't resolve. You could have destroyed this entire star system." "But I didn't." Dr. Krell helped her stand. Around them, both human and Dominion forces were slowly gathering. The battle was over, but no one had won. "Your weapon," Dr. Krell said. "It wasn't just a weapon, was it?" "It was learning," Chen nodded. "We noticed that in the last battle. Each time we used it, it got stronger, less stable, like it was trying to become something more. Something more than a weapon? Something that could rewrite reality itself. Dr. Harrison called it an ontological virus, a thing that infected the nature of existence." Dr. Krell's equipment suddenly started beeping louder. He looked at the readings and his eyes went wide. "Sergeant Chen, we have a problem." "What now?" The paradox you created, it didn't just destroy your weapon. It left something behind. A weakness in space. And it's growing. Chen looked where he was pointing. There was a spot in the air that looked wrong, like a crack in glass. It was small, barely visible, but it was definitely getting bigger. How long do we have? She asked. At this rate of growth, maybe 6 hours before it becomes unstoppable. Chen activated her radio. Dr. Harrison, are you there? I'm here, came the tired voice. I saw what happened. The dimensional barrier is compromised. Can you fix it? There was a long pause. Maybe, but I'll need help. A lot of help. And technology we don't have. Chen looked at Dr. Krell. Your people have the technology. Dr. Krell was already calling his ship. Commander, we need all our dimensional stabilizers. Yes, sir, all of them. And we need them now. For the next hour, humans and Dominion worked together. The aliens brought technology the humans couldn't dream of. The humans brought their insane willingness to try anything. Dr. Harrison and Dr. Krell worked side by side, combining their knowledge. This is impossible, Dr. Krell said, for the 10th time. We're trying to fix a crack in reality itself. Impossible is what humans do best, Dr. Harrison replied. Now stop complaining and hand me that quantum inverter. They built a device that looked even worse than the reality ripper. It was parts from both species, held together with tape and hope. It hummed with energy that made everyone nervous. This will either fix the crack or make it worse, Dr. Harrison announced. How much worse? Commander Zixatheta asked. He had come down personally to see this. End of the universe worse? Zixatheta's skin turned white. And you're going to try it anyway? Do you have a better idea? The commander was quiet. Then he said something no one expected. Do it. If we die, at least we die trying to fix what we broke. Chen volunteered to activate the device. She stood near the crack in reality, the ugly machine in her hands. The crack was much bigger now, the size of a door. Through it, she could see other dimensions, other versions of reality flickering past. On my count, Dr. Harrison said. 3, 2, 1. Now Chen activated the device. It screamed, sparked, and shot a beam of impossible energy at the crack. The crack fought back, trying to grow, trying to spread. But the beam held it, contained it, started to shrink it. Then the device exploded. 6 months had passed since the battle at Kepler 442b. The story had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species knew about the humans who had fought off the Dominion with impossible weapons. Every military academy was studying the battle. Every scientist was trying to understand how it had happened. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from 50 different species had gathered. The massive room was filled with creatures of every shape and size, floating brains, walking plants, beings made of energy and things that defied description. They had all come to discuss one topic: humanity. The Grand Admiral, still a floating crystal, pulsed with different colors as it spoke. The humans have requested membership in the Galactic Council. A wave of discussion swept through the chamber. Some species clicked in alarm, others hummed with worry, and a few made sounds that no human ear could hear. They're too dangerous, said the representative from the Veltron Empire, a creature that looked like living smoke. They create weapons that break reality itself. They're too primitive, argued another representative. They've only been in space for 43 years. Commander Zixatheta stood up. His presence surprised everyone. He rarely came to council meetings. I was there, he said simply. I fought them. And I need to tell you something important. The chamber fell silent. The humans didn't defeat us with their weapons. They defeated us with their thinking. They do what we would never dare to do. They try what we would never dare to try. And when they're pushed into a corner, they become something we cannot predict or understand. So you're saying we should reject their membership? The Grand Admiral asked. No, Zixatheta said, surprising everyone again. I'm saying we should accept them. Because if we don't, if we make them our enemies, they'll keep creating impossible weapons. But if we make them our allies, maybe they'll create impossible solutions to our problems instead. Back on Earth, Maria Chen stood in front of the United Nations. She had been called back from Kepler 442b to report on what had happened. The room was full of Earth's leaders, all wanting to understand how one colony had changed humanity's place in the galaxy. The reality ripper is gone, Chen said. All the prototypes were destroyed in the battle. Dr. Harrison says we could build more, but we've chosen not to. Why? Asked the Secretary General. Because we learned something important. The weapon wasn't just dangerous to our enemies. It was dangerous to existence itself. We came very close to destroying everything. But without weapons, how do we protect ourselves? Chen smiled. We don't need the reality ripper. We've already won the most important battle. We've shown the galaxy that humans think differently, that we're willing to do the impossible. That fear is enough to protect us, and if it's not, then we'll think of something else. Something new. Something impossible. That's what humans do. After the meeting, Chen was approached by a man in a military uniform. General Thompson, head of Earth's Defense Force. Sergeant Chen, we're creating a new department. The Department of Impossible Solutions. We want you to lead it. What would we do? Find more impossible things. Not weapons, necessarily, but solutions that no other species would think of. Ways to use our ignorance and stubbornness as advantages. Chen thought about it. Who would work with me? Dr. Harrison has already agreed to join. We're also recruiting from everywhere. Scientists who failed but found something interesting. Engineers who built things that shouldn't work. People who think sideways instead of straight. The people other species would call insane? Exactly. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council, the vote was happening. Each species had to decide, should humanity be allowed to join? Dr. Krell stood up to speak. He had been asked to give his scientific opinion. I have studied the humans extensively since our encounter. They are indeed primitive by our standards. Their ships are slow, their technology is crude, their understanding of science is limited. Many representatives nodded. This was what they expected to hear. However, Dr. Krell continued, they have something we lack. They have the ability to be wrong in useful ways. They make mistakes that lead to discoveries. They try things that shouldn't work, and sometimes they make them work anyway. He pulled up a hologram showing the battle at Kepler 442b. Look at this. One human with a weapon made from garbage held off our best warriors. Not because the weapon was advanced, but because it was impossible. It worked on principles we never discovered because we were too smart to look for them. You're saying their ignorance is an advantage? Asked the Veltron representative. I'm saying their different way of thinking is an advantage. For 10,000 years, we've all developed along similar paths. We all think the same way. The humans don't. They might be exactly what we need. The vote was close, very close, but in the end, humanity was accepted into the Galactic Council by a single vote. The deciding vote came from an unexpected source. The Dominion Commander Zixa Theta explained his vote. I would rather have humans as allies than enemies. At least as allies, we might see their impossible solutions coming. The news reached Earth within hours. Humanity had been accepted into the galactic community. Not as equals, not yet, but as members. It was more than anyone had hoped for. Chen was in her new office at the Department of Impossible Solutions when the news came. Dr. Harrison was there, along with their new team. Tom and Sarah from the colony had joined them, along with a dozen other humans who thought differently. So what now? Tom asked. Now we get to work, Chen said. The galaxy has problems. Wars, diseases, resource shortages. Problems they've been trying to solve for thousands of years with advanced technology and careful science. And we're going to solve them? Sarah sounded doubtful. We're going to try, Dr. Harrison said, but not the way they would. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to try stupid things. We're going to ask what if when everyone else says never. Give me an example, Tom said. Dr. Harrison pulled up a hologram. The Veltron Empire has a problem. Their sun is dying slowly but surely. They've tried everything to fix it. Advanced technology, careful calculations, precise science. Nothing works, and so what do? We try something impossible. Something no sane species would consider. Dr. Harrison smiled. We're going to try to feed the sun dark matter and see what happens. That's insane, Sarah said. Yes, it is. It might destroy the entire star system, or it might save it. We won't know until we try, and they're letting us do this. They're desperate. And after what happened at Kepler 442b, they're willing to let humans try anything. Over the next year, the Department of Impossible Solutions became famous throughout the galaxy. They solved problems by doing things that shouldn't work. They cured a plague that had killed millions by deliberately infecting the disease with a worse disease. They stopped a war by convincing both sides to fight a fake enemy instead. They saved a dying planet by turning its ocean into a giant battery. Not everything worked. They had failures, some of them spectacular. They accidentally turned a moon purple. They made a species of peaceful farmers temporarily telepathic, which caused chaos. They created a plant that grew so fast it covered a continent in a week, but their successes outweighed their failures. And slowly, the galaxy's view of humanity changed. They were no longer seen as primitive savages. They were seen as something else, the species that did the impossible. Chen was called to another council meeting, this time as humanity's official representative. She stood in the great chamber, looking at all the alien species that had once looked down on humanity. "The humans have a proposal," the Grand Admiral announced. "Sergeant Chen, please speak," Chen stood up. "We want to create a new academy, a place where all species can learn to think like humans, to make mistakes, to try the impossible." "That's absurd," said the Veltron representative. "Our species have spent millennia learning to avoid mistakes. And where has that gotten you?" Chen asked. "You have amazing technology, but you've stopped innovating. You have vast knowledge, but you've stopped discovering. You're so afraid of being wrong that you've stopped trying new things." She pulled up images of humanity's achievements. In 1 year, humans have solved 12 problems that stumped the galaxy for centuries. Not because we're smarter, but because we're willing to be stupid. We're willing to fail. We're willing to try the impossible. "And you think you can teach this?" the Grand Admiral asked. "We can try. It won't work for everyone. Some species are too set in their ways. But for those willing to learn, willing to make mistakes, willing to risk failure, yes, we can teach them." The debate went on for hours. But in the end, the Academy was approved. It would be built on Earth, in the ruins of the Kepler 442b colony, which had been moved to Earth as a monument to humanity's first impossible victory. Dr. Harrison was made the head of the Academy. His first lecture became famous throughout the galaxy. "Welcome to the Academy of Impossible Solutions," he said to a room full of alien students. "Here you will learn the most important lesson humanity has to offer. It's better to try something impossible and fail than to never try at all. In this academy, we reward failures that teach us something. We celebrate mistakes that lead to discoveries. We encourage ideas that make no sense because sometimes those are the ideas that change everything.